Hey everyone, welcome to Body Activation Explorations, Thigh Abduction, Adduction with Hip Internal Rotation. Now with this, again, make sure that you have your journal handy. We're going to start out with, number one, how do you feel? What are you going through right now? And journal that down. Accurately describe that feeling and where. And how is it affecting how you move? Again, we're going to be doing this between 6 to 12 times each side. Make sure it's pain-free with zero cramping, and make sure it's at a controlled pace, at least 3 to 5 seconds for each repetition. What we're looking for is a position that is difficult to control and pain-free, and we'll use that information later to formulate an actual exercise. So please take a note of it. When we start out, we're going to be standing up. If you have pain in a standing position, then we'll switch it up to a position that feels okay, and just keep watching. Otherwise, start to rotate the foot in and out, and that will make your thigh rotate in and out right within the hip socket. And we're going to see that, how that feels about 5 to 12 times, like we stated before. Notice that my hand is making contact with the table. You can use a chair, or you can also use a table and or the wall to do this, just to make sure that you're supported. When you have an idea of how the hip rotates in, we're going to rotate the hip in, and we're going to start bringing the leg out to the side. Again, notice that my hand is holding onto something, so I don't have to balance. And balancing is a whole nother issue with this one. So please make sure that you're supported when you're doing this. And I like to put my other hand on my hip as I'm going through this exercise. It gives me another frame of reference for just what else may be participating during this exercise and how much I actually move. And I'm going rather slow so I can keep momentum out of it. And when I finish up, I just change sides. I rotate the leg in and I slowly go out to the side. You know, it'd be as though I have a pane of glass going right through my body and my leg is the windshield wiper. I'm just going out to the side and back in with that foot rotated in, and my hand is measuring what's going on at the pelvis level, at my hip. And I want to make sure that it just feels smooth and it's not forced. That way there is zero cramping. And sometimes that leg that's on the ground is doing a lot of work. Those are great things to keep track of. Now from here, I'm going to go on my back, and you have a nice shot of me rotating my leg in as I'm going back and forth. And notice that I keep my right leg a little further out to the side so my left leg can cut across the midline of the body. And as I'm doing this, I do my best to not rotate my thigh in and out. I'm just sliding the leg, trying to make sure that I keep that thigh rotated in. And when I'm finished, I just scooch over to the other side of the table so I have enough space to do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. I spin that right thigh in, and I try to keep it rotated in as I'm going through this motion. Now, another aspect of that rotation is making sure that you feel comfortable with the amount of rotation. Do your best not to just jam that rotation in. Make it subtle, make it comfortable, and see how much rotation you get compared from left to right. And make a note of it. Also, make sure that your hands are relaxed, your torso is relaxed, so that, again, this is requiring very little effort. You're just there to see how one side of the body is moving compared to the other in a pain-free manner. Now we are going to roll over to the right hip, and I'm going to turn that left hip in again, so that I'm rotating that left foot in, and I'm starting to go up and down. As you notice, my back isn't really moving that much, and I'm supporting my head with my arm. So I'm not just letting my head dangle. I have the bottom of my arm, or the top of my arm, with the bottom of my head resting on it, or my right side of the head resting on my right arm. I keep that foot rotated down, so it's almost like the toe is pointed towards the ground and the heel is pointing towards the ceiling. Now just notice if that feels okay, or does it feel tight. Now we're going to go to our stomach on one side of the table, and we're going to go right leg first. You're going to rotate the foot and leg in as you slide it out and then across the body. Again, I'm anchoring my hands on the table. I'm making sure that my thigh is in contact with the table. And if you're on the ground, just your thigh is in contact with the ground instead of the foot. Sometimes the foot will slide along the ground as well. Just make sure it maintains that rotated in position. And I slide to the other side of the table, and I do the same thing with the left leg. I rotate it in as I'm sliding in and sliding out. And if you notice, I have a lot of trouble controlling this leg. Again, this is the leg that I hurt, so I spend a lot of time working on the control of that leg so it feels like nothing ever happened. So we're working on sliding it out and sliding it in with that hip rotated in. Now our last position is on the left hip. I'm going to rotate that right leg in, which means the toe is pointed down and that the heel is pointing up towards the ceiling. Again, this is a difficult position for me to control because my right hip has trouble maintaining it. You can see it wants to come out of that hip internal rotation. So this is all something to note. I'm again bracing my neck with my arms to make sure that my neck feels comfortable. And because I'm on the table in this side lying position, that it pushes me into a side bend. So make sure that you're taking note of all of these. All right, here comes the second part of the journaling exercise. Now let's reframe it. How do you feel right now? Does it compare to exactly what happened beforehand when you accurately describe it? And then how did you move and how did that change during the exercise? Now lastly, the exercise that we're going to take into this next section is the position that was most difficult to control with zero pain. So make sure that you jot that down, and let's get started in the next section.